So welcome to the second day of the Equip Bootcamp. The Equip Bootcamp, as I emphasized yesterday, is about building the capacity to excel without excuses. Excellence without excuses. That's the focus of this bootcamp. It's a 40-day fast-track bootcamp. We call it a fast-track bootcamp because what you are positioned to accomplish in 40 days is something that, takes years for some people to accomplish, if at all they ever do so. But it's a strategic way, a smart way, to accomplish that feat. The feat being to upgrade our capacity to excel, the feat being to cultivate an excellent spirit in each one of us. And yesterday I did explain, the framework, the route, that we're following, which is that, look, we identify somebody who has that excellent spirit, and that person, in the person of Jesus, who had clearly an excellent spirit. Daniel also had an excellent spirit, but of course, you will call Jesus a greater than Daniel, as it were, when it comes to the quality or the caliber or grade of their excellent spirits. And so look for the significant feature of their lives and study it. And when you immerse yourself in it, you drink into it, what you are doing is you are drinking into the spirit, into that excellent spirit. Why? Because the spirit of men and women, by the way, are in their words. So if you read my words long enough and you believe them and decide to act on them, it's a very clever way of contacting my spirit. And that's the way it is. And we're told in John 6 and verse 60, Jesus was saying, look, the words that I speak to you, they are spirit and they have life. All right. And if you like, you can say they are spirit and they give life. So that's what, we are following. We identify that his parables represent a significant feature of his life. And so studying the parables, is a very important way to cultivate that spirit, the same spirit in us. And yesterday I emphasized that spirit, those parables, they show us the way to live life, the way of the kingdom, the way to succeed, to progress, to triumph in life. All right, that's what they describe, because many of the parables, Jesus prefixed them by saying, the kingdom of heaven is like unto this. The kingdom of God is like this. All right. So he was saying that, look, these are the principles by which people of the kingdom operate. And people of the kingdom, are meant to exhibit that excellent spirit. All right. And so committing to understand those parables, to learn them, to apply them in our lives is something that a smart person needs to do. I also looked at it from a different perspective, recalling Proverbs 13 and verse 20 that says that whoever walks with the wise shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. And I said, well, one of the ways to walk with the wise is to read what the wise say, to study them, to believe in them, to act on that. And that as you continue to walk by the sayings of the wise, you are also walking with the wise. So walking with the wise there doesn't mean that you have to physically be associated, with only wise people. All right. But that's one clever way of doing it. And these were things that Jesus himself did because he studied under, the teachers of his days, the doctors of the law, asking them questions every time made it a routine, a custom to visit the synagogue and to just listen to them. And he wasn't even teaching. That was all before he started teaching. And then, of course, he went on a 40 days adventure under the tutelage of the Holy Spirit. And we did say that was the preparation he had before he stepped out. And we know what became of him when he came out of that 40 days adventure. That's how this adventure has been patterned, and you can look forward to the same, even greater dimension of, of experience. And why do I say that? If you recall, a time came when John the Baptist sent his disciples to Jesus, and after they had come and gone, Jesus was asking the people, he said, who did you go into the wilderness to see when you went to look for John the Baptist? He said, did you go to see a prophet? And he said to them that of all men, that are born of women, all right, up till his time, none was greater than John the Baptist. But, he then introduced himself. He said, but now that I have come, a greater than Solomon is here. Said, he said, and the least person in this kingdom is greater than John the Baptist. The least person in this kingdom is greater than John the Baptist. That gives you an idea of what you encounter, when you pay attention to all that he has said. And one way, like I said, to do that is to listen to, his parables. Why are those parables so important? Because we know that he never taught without parables. Yet he did so much teaching, but he did not teach without parables. He didn't teach without parables. All right, so you are set to experience a redefining transformation in 40 days. And today is the second day. This journey will fully equip you to do excellence. All right. Um, uh, if you like, to for every good work, as Paul said, it's a one-of-a-kind adventure. Now you know that is a one-of-a-kind adventure. Yesterday, you recall one of the what I challenged each one to do was to confirm whether or not they had ever undertaken a study of the parables, the complete set of Jesus's parables, ever. And that my experience has been that virtually 9.5 out of 10 people who were Christians and who had been Christians for many years had never done that. And that point was proven yesterday because everyone acknowledged, yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I even know the parables, but I have never done this kind of thing. And you can imagine how much we're missing. How can it be that you believe someone, who all of his work he was teaching? Because that's all Jesus did. Jesus did just two things while he was on earth. He taught and he healed. And in that sequence, because he needed to teach so that the people will have faith, to get healed. And the proof of that is that there was a time that he could not do any mighty work because the people did not believe. All right. So the teaching was a cornerstone. There's no way to talk about him. There's no way he could have delivered on his mandate without teaching. He taught from day one, even after he resurrected, he was still teaching. And when he was leaving in John 21, he told Peter, he said, if you love me, do you love me more than your fellows? He said, then feed my lamb. What was he saying? He said, teach them the things that I have taught you. All right. And so if you look at the lives of the disciples themselves, they also taught. virtually all through. So if that was his nature, if it was, that prominent in him, and we're told he never taught without parables. In any case, that's why we have a set of parables to study. Why is it that people have not taken time to dig deep into it? And then you will see when he was telling the parable that we're going to discuss today, parable we're starting with today, he told them at a point, he said, to you it is given, all right, to understand the mysteries of the kingdom. All right. So why is it that we haven't taken interest in the mysteries? Because that's part of what are hidden in those parables. Yet, when we pray, every day we say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. How will his kingdom come when we don't even understand the workings of his kingdom? All right. So it's a one-of-a-kind adventure. And when you do a one-of-a-kind thing, you get a one-of-a-kind impact or result. So we're starting today, the first parable is the parable of the sower. So every time, I introduce a parable, I will emphasize the focus of that parable. Many times, the parables can be described as focusing on more than one thing, and we will see that. But I try to point to, perhaps one of the core aspects, of the parable, so that it's helpful for you and I. Each time we mention a parable, you understand exactly what that parable emphasizes. So here, I said the parable of the sower, all right, exposes us to know how to achieve your goals. How do you achieve your goals, grow, and succeed in anything you do? How do you achieve your goals? How do you grow and succeed in anything you do? You can see virtually everything that you and I do in life has to do with seeking to achieve goals, has to do with growth. Life is about growing. Life is about growing, is about moving from one level to the other. All right. Life is about growing. Everything that God has created, especially us that he created, we're about growing. All right. We're about growing. So, and success also. So to succeed in anything that we do. All right. That's what this parable is about. Now, so every time we look at them, I'm going to play a video of, a representation of the video, of the parable. I think it helps us, to bring life, to bring more excitement, to the class. And it makes it easier for you to just listen to somebody read it, even though we would also read ourselves. It's important to read, it has its place. And I want to encourage you that as we do that here, when you go back, in your own privacy, you also take the time to read and process. Remember, one of the things we said yesterday is that, as you learn from this, each session, try to settle down on your own fine time, meditate on these things. All right. Follow those 10 steps that I listed for us yesterday, so that you can really, you can ingrain this in your spirit. Okay, so let's watch a representation of that parable.
Behold, the sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside. The fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell upon stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell into good ground and brought forth fruit. Some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear.
Why speakest thou unto them in parables?
Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even that he hath. Therefore I speak to them in parables. Because they seeing, see not. And hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which saith, by hearing ye shall hear, ye shall not understand. And seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing. Their eyes they have closed, lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their hearts, and should be converted. I should heal them. Blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen. You hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receiveth it. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. But he that receives seed into the good ground is he that heareth the word and understandeth it, which also beareth fruit, and bringeth forth some 100-fold, some 60, some 30.
All right, so that's what the parable of the sower says. And I would also, like I said, encourage us to read. So let me read very quickly, but I'm not going to go through all that he said. We'll just keep within that parable, itself, because he then made a number of other remarks. And so what you have on the screen, I'm reading the version. This parable, you would find it in the book of Matthew, like it was indicated. Matthew 13, from verses 1 to 13 was what was acted out. I'm going to read Luke 8, verse 5 to 8. And of course, Luke also has the same complete stuff, I would show the interpretation shortly. So it says, a sower went out to sow his seed. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trampled upon, and the birds of the air devoured it. Some fell on the rock, and as soon as it sprang up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it. But others fell on good ground, sprang up, and yielded a crop, and 100-fold. When he had said these things, he cried, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." That's a very popular parable. It's perhaps the most important parable or teaching that Jesus gave his disciples. It's foundational in nature. Every other parable or teaching derives its relevance from this one. It's one principle that you must never forget. The principle we're going to examine here is one principle you must never forget. It's a principle upon which everything on the earth rests. You see this principle play itself out every day. You see it play itself out virtually in every area of life. All right. And there have been multiple opportunities for you and I to apply this principle. But unfortunately, we may not have done so. All right. We may not have done so. Why do I make some of these very instructive statements? Let me show you what Jesus said. And I read this time from his rendition in Mark. You know, what he said about this parable when he said it. So reading from Mark 4, I'm reading just 2 verses so that I can make this point. But when he was alone, those around him with the 12, which were his followers, you know them, asked him about the parable. They were asking for an interpretation of this parable. They were asking for an interpretation. And he said to them, "Don't you understand? Do you not understand this parable?" You know, he marveled, said, "Is it that you guys cannot understand this parable?" Said, "How then will you understand all the parables?" Can you see the point? Now, you told the parable, and they came to you saying, "Can you please explain this parable to us, please?" All right. We want the meaning of this parable. What exactly is the point of this parable? What are you saying, you know, in this parable? All right. I mean, they obviously they didn't want to miss the point. They wanted to get the substance, the meat of it, which is what each one of us ought to be interested in. These were people who were following him. These were people who had committed themselves to him, just like you and I have committed ourselves to him. And he was speaking these parables. They didn't allow it to go. They didn't handle it with levity. They took interest in it. We want to understand exactly what it is. Remember yesterday, I showed you where we were told that he spoke, all right, he interpreted each of these parables to them. Every time he spoke about it, when he was in private with them, he would explain the parables. That said, he would explain. So every parable he explained. And if you look at that video rendition, he said, "Unto you it is given." They asked him, "Why do you speak to the people in parables? Why do you speak in parables?" He said, "Well, let me make it clear to you. You are a special bunch, all right, because you are following me and you are interested in what I'm saying. You want to learn from me. So to you, it is given, all right, that you understand the mysteries," telling you that these are not mere stories. Parables are not stories. They are principles, core principles of life delivered through the medium of stories. The stories are just a medium. The story is like packaging to make it attractive to you and I, and to obscure certain things from your eyes, from my eyes, if we are not interested in what he's saying. So there are mysteries that are contained in these things that I'm saying. They are not ordinary stories. They are mysteries of the kingdom. And he said something that I hope you got also there. He said, look, whoever receives the word of the kingdom, this is what the attitude that he should maintain towards it. And that, that was something that he was talking about when, while he was given this parable. So he said, do you not understand these parables? He said, if you don't understand this parable, how will you understand all other parables? That means this parable, you must understand it in order for you to understand all other parables. It means this parable is foundation, is a foundation principles. Every other principle is sustained by this parable. Every other principle is given meaning by this parable. If you miss the message of this parable, then every other parable we'll be discussing may not make as much sense as it should to you. So again, this tells us that there is this foundation parable and the message it delivers. And every other parable is like a building block that is placed on this foundation. So those foundations don't just stand alone. You can see there is a connection between them. You just don't pick them, on their own. That's why you really want to make the most of what they offer. Is important to take them all together. That is, undertake a study of them together. That way you recognize that there's a relationship between them. And so you don't miss some very vital messages. All right. And that's one of the reasons we're also starting with this parable, because it's foundational. That's where to start. If you want to build something, you start with the foundation. You have to lay the foundation. All right. And I did say to Ross that the principle that is expressed here, every aspect of living, every aspect of life benefits from this principle, takes relevance from this principle, can be controlled or understood by by knowledge of this principle. Every aspect of life, every aspect of life. And I can tell you immediately, before we even begin to deconstruct what the message is here, that when you look at Genesis 8 and verse 22, it said, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall never cease. That is the core of this parable. Seed time and harvest, as long as the earth remains, shall never cease. Seed time and harvest. That is, you want to harvest something, you want to realize a goal, you want to get something done, it all boils down to what you put into it. What you put into it will determine what you get out of it. What you put into anything will determine what you get out of it. If you put the right input, you will get the right output. So right there, you can understand why a lot of people get frustrated in what they do, that they just can't seem to realize a particular outcome. What they fail to do many times is to check what is the input. What did they provide? What input did they put in? You are not going to plant oranges while expecting to harvest cassava. All right? And that's what many people are doing. So that is consistent with this parable. One of the things that we also say is that, give and it shall be given to you. All right. Press down, good measure, shaking together, running over, and all of that. Shall men throw to your bosom? That's also based on this principle. What you give and what you receive. All right. Life thrives on that. Just examine any aspect of life thrives on that. So it's important, please, that you recognize the principle, the message, the mysteries of this parable as a foundation. If you want to spend time, quite frankly, I say this to you, this principle is so loaded, I can teach it for 40 days because there are too many dimensions. But we're going to, just bring out the essentials. But I tell you, once you have this core understanding, every time you are reading it, you will be discovering, other applications in it. It's loaded, is rich, but is empowering beyond what you and I, can imagine. It is something that is given to us to put us at an advantage, to put us in control, all right, to empower us to get whatever kind of result that we desire, all right? And so you understand why this also contributes to, the development of the spirit of excellence. So Jesus gave an interpretation. Let's quickly read through that interpretation. It's useful. We're going to be guided by it as we discuss in greater detail. So he says, now the parable is this. The seed is the word of God. Remember, he said a sower went out to sow, all right, to sow his seed. A sower went out to sow his seed. So he says the seed is the word of God, or you can see the seed, interpret the seed to mean the word. And now those seeds that fell by the waysides, they represent people who heard, all right, they received this word into their hearts. But the devil comes, all right, and takes away the word out of their hearts so that it will not profit them. So they won't believe it and they will not be saved. So be careful as you listen all through these 40 days, because all these parables you'll be hearing, they are seeds. They are the words of the kingdom. You heard it when Jesus said it there. He says the word of God. They are not my words, all right? I'm trying to explain that. But receive them for what they are. They are seeds. What do seeds offer? They offer huge potential for producing what they carry. The seed that produces oranges has oranges inside. But when you look at that seed, it doesn't look like it. But it's not empty. The potential inside the seed, as small as it is huge. It is that same one seed produces a massive orange tree. For those who may not be familiar with farming or with agric, if you see an orange tree standing, an orange tree, when you get a harvest, all right, if you shake the tree once, it can give you more than 1,000 oranges, one harvest, one tree. But that big tree, as big as it is, only came out of one seed, not two, not three, not 10, not 50. If you like, plant 20 seeds inside one hole. It is only one of them that will deliver one tree. All right. So don't waste your seed. If their seeds are very viable, you use one seed in a hole, maximum two. All right. And the reason that we use two at times is so that even if the birds of the air were to come, all right, they won't take away all the seeds from the ground, at the same time. So you will still have a seed, in the ground that can germinate. So, but the mystery is this: the seed looks like something that is intangible. The words that you speak, ladies and gentlemen, look like something that is intangible. But contained in those words, you'll be amazed what they can produce if you use them correctly. This is one of the implications of what you are listening to. Too many of us speak too carelessly. All right? We don't take advantage. If you can get that understanding that when I speak, I am releasing seed. What I'm saying is going into the hearts of people, and it has the capacity to produce the content, whatever they contain. So everything you say has substance. It contains something. Now, where have you sent it? Where is it going to enter? When you are talking to your subordinate, when you are talking to your colleague, when you are talking to your superior, you are sending seed into their hearts. If the quality of what you say is good, that seed can produce anything. It will not just produce anything. It will produce after. It will deliver the substance, what you intend. Some people want to get along very well with their bosses, and they are looking for how to do it. One of the things they need to examine is, what do they say to their bosses? Do they speak the words that will reproduce what they want in the heart of their bosses when it gets there? Do they even speak words that will be easily received by their bosses? Because their word is seed. They should see their words as seeds. Stop using your words anyhow. Learn to upgrade the quality of what you say. Because what you say can change, has the potential to change every outcome of your life, to give you the outcomes that you desire. This is one of the reasons why you are the one who determines the quality of the outcomes that you see in your life. Who decides what the quality of the harvest of this farmer is? It is the farmer. How? He is the one who sowed the seed. You are not going to realize a harvest that is better than the quality of the seed that you sowed. You are not going to realize a harvest also that is better than the quality of your execution of the process that produces seed. You are not going to get a quality outcomes, a quality of harvest that is better than the depth of your understanding of this principle that we are discussing. So you can see, this is just one out of many applications. And this is profound. I guarantee you that if from today you begin to watch the words you speak to people, you begin to use your words strategically, intentionally, all right, the quality of the outcomes of your life will change based on this principle, all right, guaranteed. The quality of the outcomes, what you experience in life will change, all right? So it says, so beware, the words you receive, the words you speak into the people's hearts, depending on this quality of their hearts, they could lose it. Now, verse 13 says, but the ones on the rock. So there are some hearts, they are likened to rocks. The ones on the rocks, they are people, they represent people who hear the word, they receive it with joy, they are very excited, but they have no root. They have no root. They are playful about it. They think it's piece of cake. They think that, once you put the seed in the ground, it will just grow by itself. And they don't expect that challenges will come. But when temptation comes, they fall away. They get offended. All right. Why should it be? That's not what I was told. This is not how this thing is supposed to be. All right. They expect that life is going to be very easy and challenges should not arise. After all, they told me to learn the principle. I learned the principle and I'm implementing the principle. Why are these challenges? Well, if you truly learn the principle, you would have understood that part of what you should expect is that the challenges will come. And you should have learned what you need to do to overcome those challenges. So their depth of understanding is not sufficient, is inadequate, all right, for them to be able to scale certain hurdles that will necessarily come when you are trying to achieve anything. I'm going to throw more light on this. Now, the ones, verse 14, now the ones that fell among thorns are those, you see, another category. They call them, seeds that you plant among thorns. They had, they also received, but they have to contend with another set of challenges. They are choked with cares, with riches, all right? They are choked with cares, with riches, and pleasures, and the pleasures of life. And they bring no fruit to maturity. So their efforts fail once again. It said, but the ones that fell on the good ground are those who, having heard the word with a noble and good heart, they keep it and bear fruit with patience. They keep it and bear fruit with patience. I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what heart have you brought to this cohort? What kind of heart have you brought to Equip Bootcamp? What kind of heart should you have? Should you ensure that you nurture if you want to make the most of this bootcamp? Come with a noble and a good heart. Remember, I said yesterday when I was identifying the steps that you need to take in order to maximize what you learn. I said one of the things is, in fact, I started, the very first point I made was that you should come to this meeting with an open heart. Come with an open heart, an open mind. All right. Just do as if you have never had anything before. Come ready to receive. Come ready for your eyes to be open. Look at what Jesus said in that video. He said, they will see, but they will not understand. All right. Which is a possibility. Maybe it's the reason that many of us haven't taken interest in the parables till date, in spite of the fact that, we're children of God, we're believers. But it just never occurred to us. And there are many of virtually, as we discuss the parables, you will see that what you get from it is not the kind of thing that is taught in church, all right? Because the focus here is practical application. We're not dealing as religious people. We're not talking it as if we are talking that, yes, Jesus said in John 17, he said, I'm not asking you to take them out of the world. All these things are meant to be used here. They are not to be used in heaven. They are meant to be used here. They are meant to be used on day-to-day basis. The person who spoke them to empower us to deal with these issues, day-to-day issues. That's the reason he spoke them. All right? It's not for religiosity. That is being spiritual, to follow these principles in everything you do. That's why it is the case that some people, project a different kind of attitude when they're in church, and when they're outside is a different thing. Why should it be different if you are living by the same set of principles? The principles are not church principles. The principles are principles of God that he expects us to use, to learn very well, to imbibe, to implement, so that we can dominate on the earth. All right? So that we can dominate. So look at it. You want to, these things that you are hearing all through these 40 days to benefit you maximally. One condition: come to this daily with a noble and good heart. Receive with a noble and good heart. No assumptions, no preconceived ideas. Willing to learn, committed to implement. All right? And to follow it through. Believe that these things are true. One of the things that I love about this particular parable is this. It is something that every one of us should be able to relate to. I said, as long as you are eating, as long as you eat oranges, as long as you eat guavas, as long as you eat vegetables, as long as you are eating something that is cultivated, all right, then it should be easy for you to relate to this. You at least know that it works. Whatever he has said works. Whatever he has said works because you are still eating to today. He said it more than 2,000 years ago, but you are still eating to today. This is the principle that is behind everything that you are eating. This is the principle. The way it is described here, I mean, I have done some farming. That's how it plays out. That's how it plays out. So it's easy to believe when somebody uses, what happens practically to convey some very core truths about life and how to live life in a way that you are fulfilled, in a way that you have something to show. That's how instructive every one of these parables are. So we're going to look at, remember, we're following, a process. We're going to look at relevance. What are the things that we should note? And I'm going to discuss this, on the base of these, 8 sort of headings. All right. What goal are you pursuing? What process will take you there? What odds do you face? What capacity do you possess to overcome? What resources do you have to invest? What pitfalls must you avoid? How do you maximize your income, your outcome? What character attributes will help you? Let's quickly look at them one by one. And so, what goals are you pursuing? You can see from this parable that the sower who stepped out with a goal in mind. What was he looking forward to? He was looking forward to a harvest. The whole reason for the sower to step out with a seed was because he was looking for a harvest. The end goal is what he had in mind. He had a seed. He was looking to achieve a harvest. All right? He wanted to get fruits. That's the result that he's looking for. That's the expected outcome of his planting effort. All right? And I dare say that, of course, he wants as much fruit as he can get. In the version that we saw in that video in Matthew 13, it said some will get 30-fold, some will get 60-fold, some will get 100-fold. That means that you and I can do the same thing, but we would end up with different quality of results. That's part of what happens. I can do the same thing as you did. We can plant the same orange seeds, but I can have a better harvest than you. The only difference, I'll tell you where the differences would be. The difference would be, number one, in the quality of the seed that we plant, because seeds are in different qualities. Those who know farming will tell you there's what is called the viability of a seed. That is how potent is a seed. All right. And so the kind of seed, both of us can hold orange seeds, but mine can be more potent than yours. All right. Another thing that will determine whether both of us get the same results is how well trained we are. How much do we know? How much understanding do we have of the process? And I'm going to say something shortly about the sower. What's the significance of mentioning a sower there? And I would ask you, every time that you want to activate, that you are in pursuit of a goal, ask yourself, are you a sower? In relation to that goal, are you a sower? Because it is not an engineer that stepped out. It is not a lawyer that stepped out with a seed. It is a sower that stepped out with what? A seed. A sower. It has significance. We often don't pay attention to it. All right. So what goals are you pursuing? We are told, therefore, please don't live life without specific goals. Don't embark on life without goals. Don't do things for the sake of doing them. Do them with a specific goal in mind. It is important. Your goal is important. It will determine a lot of things. This man wanted a harvest of, say, oranges. What seed do you think he's going to go out with? Orange seeds. If he didn't define his goal, then he can as well go out with any kind of seed, isn't it? He can go out with any kind of seed. But how meaningful will that be? What then will be the process that he will follow? What will he be expecting? It makes no sense. And that's one of the things you want to take away. That's one of the things you want to take away. When you do things, do you have a goal in mind? Even if it's not written, do you have a goal? Are you intentional? You must be. The sower went out to sow. It was intentional. Second is there is a process. There is a process. And we can see the process. It started by the sower. The sower knew that he needed a seed. And he takes the seed and is going to put it in the ground. And then he's going to nurture it. And he knows he's going to pass through different stages where he will face obstacles. And he has to overcome them in order for him to get the harvest and therefore to be successful in that endeavor. Okay? So, and then ultimately, if he's able to overcome them, he will be successful and he will have something to show for his effort. Process. Process. You want to succeed, you want to achieve your goal, you want to grow, you must mind process. You must mind process. If you ignore process, you will be embarrassed. If you ignore process, you will fail. If you ignore process, you'll be flying blind. If you ignore process, it will be an act of stupidity. That's not the making of the excellence, of the excellent. Don't ignore process. Luckily, the process for you to prosper in anything, for you to succeed in anything, is what this parable has mapped out. It's mapped out for you a process. It's mapped out for you a process. What is that process? The process is that, what's your goal first? If you are settled on your goal, the question is, are you a sower? Because if you want to harvest oranges, you must know how to produce oranges, isn't it? You must know. You must have the knowledge. You must have the qualification. You must have the capability or capacity to produce. Are you sufficiently skilled in the area that you are now expecting that you want to become a millionaire? Or you are just following people just because they say somebody has done this, you too can do them, which is one of the ways that, Nigerians do things. And they don't mind the fact that they must have what it takes before they even step out at all. Otherwise, they are dead on arrival. So you have to be a sower. It's part of the process. You have to prepare yourself. You have to do the due diligence. Do I have what it takes to follow through this process? Do I? Because notice that it is the same sower who failed at different points in the process. The same sower. So what if the sower, and that's somebody who ought to know the process, who ought to have prepared sufficiently, but he still failed. And I'll tell you the reason why he failed. You know, please, if I overlook it, just remind me. So when you want to do anything, when you are going after something, make sure you prepare. If you are not a sower and you need the sower's kind of harvest, then prepare yourself, train yourself, skill yourself to become a sower so that you qualify to pursue the route, because there is a process. And in preparing yourself, when you are trained to be the sower, guess what happens? Part of that training is that you will understand the process. Is that you understand the process. All right? And so there is the sower knows that he needs to take seed. The sower knows that that seed, he can't put it on the table. He has to put it in the ground. The sower now knows that there are different kinds of grounds. So some of us, when we deal with people, we are leaders. We should know that different people come to you with different kinds of hearts. Some people's hearts are hearts of stone. Some people's hearts, you know, are naive. They are nonchalant. The nonchalant heart is the one who will go and plant his seed by the wayside. No farmer in his right mind plants on the wayside, except a nonchalant farmer who does not take, you know, the value of the seed seriously. If you know that that one seed can produce a huge tree of oranges, and by the way, an orange tree can last for like 18 years, from what I understand. So, and the harvest is more than once a year, but it's just one single seed. In mathematics, we would do like a discounted cash flow of that, and you'd have an idea of how much money you can make from that one single tiny seed, which some people will take and just throw it away. If you give some people, they will just, what will I do with this seed? Why? They have no value for it. And that's what you and I do at times. There are things that have been put in our hands. The gift that God has given to some of us, you know, we don't have an idea of the fact that they are seeds, that they look like they are not worth anything, but it's only because we have not engaged them. We have not challenged ourselves to apply them appropriately, which is to put them in the ground and nurture them and see what they will produce for us. That's another application. All right, that's another application. So you have to mind process. You need to know it. You see, there are progress milestones. There are 3 milestones or 4 in that process. There is the point where you sow, and something can happen to it. When you pass that stage, that's a milestone you have covered. All right? The second stage is that the sun can come. There will be challenges. You will always have challenges, whatever it is you want to do. Nothing comes to anybody on a platter of gold. But those challenges are not meant to be obstacles, just to frustrate you. No, they are meant to enhance your capabilities and to prepare you for the next level of challenge. And that over time, you become an expert in these things, such that when you start out, you are sure that you're going to get the results that you desire. When you learn the things you are learning over this 40-day period, you may not immediately get the quality of results that we're talking about. But as you practice it, as you see some of the salient things that we did not mention, as you experience them in real life, all right, and you brace up yourself, you overcome them, all right, you are developing capacity, you are nurturing that excellent spirit, and you get to a time where you take these things in your stride, where they become a part of you, where you don't have to think. You face a situation, you're not thinking, oh, so what principle is applied here? What can I do here? Because you have been practicing, because you have been using it, you immediately know, what principles apply, what combination of principles apply, because at times it's not just one principle that helps you to resolve an issue. Okay, so you need to learn the process and to execute it, all right, with an excellent mindset. Follow through the principles the way it's been said. One of the things that you need therefore is strength and endurance, all right, because challenges will come. You see in the interpretation there, it says, when the sun came and it really hit on the crop that was growing, the crop was scorched. And he said, some people, they have learned the thing, but then they face challenges and they get offended. Why are they offended? Because they didn't expect challenges, because they didn't brace themselves up, because they were fairly careless. That's how some people think that when they engage in something, everything will just go smoothly. I have news for you. That's not the way that life was structured. Even in the kingdom, there is the expectation that you will face challenges. You must face challenges. Jesus said, in this world, you will have tribulations. He said, but be of good cheer. So it's not just for you to be laughing. It's for you to build the capacity, the strength to endure. When he himself went to the mountain, why did he go to the mountain? He said he was sorrowful unto death. That the weight of his responsibility, he felt it. And he had to go and pray. What did he get out of the prayer? The prayer did not say, okay, you won't face the challenges again. No, the prayer said, what you need is strength. So they supplied him with strength. It's strength and endurance that you need to overcome every milestone. The challenges will come, but do you have the strength? Do you have the stamina? Have you set your face like a flint? Because if you know that the challenges are coming, what do? You take them in your stride. You ought to be better prepared than the person who does not know the process and who doesn't know that at certain times there will be challenges. You want to set out from Lagos, you are going to Ibadan, and you think that, because now, the road has been done, you are just going to drive down there, nothing is going to happen. You are joking. Because things can happen. But if you are sufficiently knowledgeable, as we're being taught, you would have prepared ahead for it. And then one of the things that about this process is waiting, patience. Patience. You see, he didn't plant the seed and then things happened immediately. That's not how it happened. Look at between when he stepped out with his seed and when the harvest was obtained, do you know that time elapsed? This idea of wanting things to happen spot on is contrary to how you are expected to live. Is contrary to the manifestations of the spirit of excellence. Excellence does not mean speed. Excellence will not go contrary to process. You can't be so excellent you circumvent process. That's not the spirit of excellence. The spirit of excellence is to show respect for process and to take full advantage of it. There's a time that harvest must come. If you take your seed, if it's orange seed, there's it. And that's why you also need to know what you are looking for. Because if mangoes are what you want, the time it takes for mangoes to produce a harvest from seed to harvest is different from oranges. It's different from pawpaw. It's different from cassava. That's why you also have to be careful comparing yourself with others. Because the race that I'm running may be to harvest mustard. The race you are running may be to harvest oranges. I may realize mustard before you, but it doesn't mean that I'm more successful than you. It simply means that we are not running the same race. And the earlier you understand that, the better for you. Otherwise, you will soon abandon your own gift and you are looking for mustard seeds, which is not your calling, which you don't have the capacity, to produce a harvest out of. Can see so many dimensions to be learned from this parable. So there is a time when you set your goal, you define a vision, there is a time that it must speak. You find that in Habakkuk 2 and verse 3. All right. It said, the vision is for an appointed time. And at the end, it shall speak and it shall not lie. So don't try to hurry things up. This principle, time, there's a time component. You must respect it. Anything, any goal, any quest for success. All right. 1, time must elapse. 2, time, you can predict it if you know exactly what it is you are trying to do. If I'm holding pepper seeds, I know how long it takes for pepper to start giving me a harvest. Some will be 75 days, some will be 90 days, depending on the variety. And once I begin a harvest, I know I'm going to get a harvest for the next 2 years, provided that I maintain, the crop very well. Let's quickly talk about the odds of failure. And this principle or parable tells you that there are odds that you will face. We call them challenges. No one who succeeds does so without overcoming certain specific odds. You would face the odds, you would have to overcome them. You must earn your success. Nobody succeeds by mistake. You earn because there is a process. And this process, you cannot short-circuit it. You can't short-circuit it. Otherwise, you have another thing coming. That's why we're told wealth gotten by vanity, it will diminish. If you circumvent the process, you will get the results. So it's better to learn the process. And this process tells us there are odds. And one of the things you find is that the odds against success, they are massive. The odds, the things that don't want you to succeed, they're huge. And I said, anything you do, the odds against your success is at least 75%. Why? Because if you look at that process, there are 4 major milestones. In 3 out of the 4, the sower failed. So you can look at it as 3 attempts out of 4. He failed. He failed. That means there's a 3 in 4 chance that anything we try to do, we will fail. We don't often. So people say, why is it that many people fail? Why is it that many people cannot realize, why aren't there too many successful people? Well, that's the answer. Because there is a process to success. And that process, if you don't understand it, you will fall victim. Those odds will crystallize. People are very nonchalant. They don't pay attention to their sources of advantage. People will get offended. Some people will hang around people they're not supposed to hang around with, like, the endeavor that fell within thorns. The thorns choke them. It talks about people that you hang around with. It talks about, certain kinds of things we want to achieve. In some cases, some people want to spend the money once they start seeing some little resource. All right. They have not recorded any success. They're already spending more. And that would be their undoing. And it's usually because of the influence of the people that they're hanging around. All right. So there are points, I call them failure nodes, where you have to be careful. Number 1, don't let anyone, all right, tamper with your gift, with your seed. Be more intentional. He said the devil came and he stole it. There are things we have that we're not paying attention to. Yet we want to succeed, but we're exposing it. Don't get offended. Don't expect success too early. When there are challenges, don't turn your back on your endeavor and say, no, that's not what I was planning for. Oh, that's part of what people who succeeded in that same thing had to go through, and they overcame them. Know now that we are learning these things, that those things are normal. They are normal. Challenges are normal. And for particular challenges, if you look at, each of our own places, I mean, I have people on this, on the platform who are, into investments, banking, who are into law, who are core banking people and stuff like that. Now, when you look at, you'll find challenges. You get to points where you feel like giving up. But you can't afford to, because you know that once you give up, that's the end of your pursuit along that line. You will now go and be looking for something else. And it will look as if, you are the one that is carrying all the problems in the world. No, that's what other people went through. Usually, what you need to do is you need to ensure that your depth of knowledge of the process is intact, that you have depth. That's what he said. They that know their God, they shall be strong. They shall be strong. Knowledge gives you the backbone. That sower does not know enough. Yes, he's a sower, but the depth of his knowledge is not enough. So he's weak. If you faint in the day that challenges appear, your strength is small. How do you build your strength? Knowledge. You don't know enough. If you know enough, you'll be ready for the challenges. You'll even be waiting for that. And when they show up, you show what you are made of, that you know enough to overcome it. The next parable that we're going to look at, I'm going to show you the importance of knowledge. The importance of knowledge. I will demonstrate the importance of knowledge, how it is a source of is a differentiating, a basis for differentiation. All right. So you have to fight those odds. Yes, the odds can be made, greater than 75%, but at least they are not 100%, which means that at least 25% of people who embark on what they want, they still succeed. Why shouldn't I be one of the 25? The key is that you have knowledge, and when you have knowledge, faith is in place. Faith is in place. So you are ready. You are ready. You are ready. And you can refer to James chapter 1. He said, count it all joy when you face diverse temptations and trials. He said, for the workings of your faith. All right. How do you say that, allow your faith to be tried. All right. When your faith is tried, it builds in you patience. Let patience have its full expression so that you may be perfect and complete, wanting nothing. So the process of cultivating the excellent spirit requires that, you embrace those challenges and you use the knowledge that you have to walk through them. All right. So the point about the adequacy of your capacity, I'm sure you have had that in all that I have said. What do you possess? You want to achieve a goal. You want to operate in this business. You want to pursue this initiative. Are you a sower or you are just an imposter? Many people they are imposters. They're imposters. Why? Because they are not trained for the things they are trying to do. They don't have what it takes to succeed. It is predictable that they are going to fail, not because we want them to fail, but because we understand this process. That's why also when you are dealing with some of your subordinates, you know where they are going to end up, the way they are starting. You know. Why? Because you understand that there is a process and the requirements, the prerequisites for them to succeed, they are not fulfilling it. So from a leadership standpoint, this is helpful. You can predict certain things about people just because you have an understanding of this, process. You can. And when you are not sufficiently prepared, when you are not sufficiently skilled, when you are not sufficiently experienced as to be called a sower who now wants to harvest just because they have access to seed, they are impostors. And they will soon be revealed as one by virtue of the failure that will be the end of their effort. All right. So you need to possess. Do you possess requisite knowledge? It gives you that capacity. All right. Understand the requisite process. Know the required seed. All of that is about when they call somebody a sower understands that seed is not just seed, that there is what is called viability of seeds. A sower knows the differences between different kinds of seeds. All right. A sower knows that you don't, cultivate rice the same way you cultivate plantain. A sower knows. Somebody who is not a farmer does not know. They don't know. A sower knows that there are some crops that need plenty of water, that there are some, if you give them too much water, you will bungle the entire process. How do you, succeed in that situation? It's knowledge. How much capacity do you have? And so, in the case of a seed, you either have it, which is like a gift or a talent or grace, as we call it, or you go and look for it. You secure it because you can secure it. You can buy it. So buy the truth and don't sell it. There's a reason for saying that. And then can you execute according to the demands of the process? Can you follow? It's part of capacity. It's part of capacity. All right. So I've talked about that. A sower with a seed. A sower with a seed. So when you want to embark on something, do you have the seed? Everything requires a seed. Everything requires something for you to put in that has in it the ability to produce what you want. All right? The sower is nothing without a seed. But being a sower means you know the importance of a seed. And you are knowledgeable enough to seek, to identify, and to apply the kind of seed that is required for you to get the result that you determine. So it talks about depth of your knowledge of the seed. The wrong seed has great adverse consequences. Is what many people are doing. They are leaving their seed, their God-given seed, and they're going to collect somebody else's seed, And then you must be ready to use your seed, to let go of your seed. Your seed, the Bible tells us, he said, except a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it will abide alone. If you don't use that seed, you won't get any result. The seed is not for you to be showcasing it. It's not for you to be saying, this is what I have, this is what I have. What is the essence of it is to apply it. Is to apply it. If you don't apply it, all right, so you have to give it. You have to give it. The seed you need the seed, but it is more important that the seed will enter the ground. In some cases, when I teach leadership, the seed is you. And you have to give yourself in completely, because until you do that, your people can't gain anything from you. You can't reproduce yourself in your people. I use this parable to teach leadership. You want the code of leadership to be broken completely. Use this. The sower is a true leader. And every true leader has a seed. What is the gift? Every leader has a gift. You cannot ignore it if you want to do leadership right. You can't ignore it. Ephesians 4 He said, when Jesus went away, he gave gifts unto men. And he said, and he gave some apostles and some prophets and some leaders, teachers, and for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry. All right. So leaders are given as gifts, but leaders come to the function with their gifts. So each of those leaders have specific gifts to use to benefit the lives of the people that they lead. That's another application of this process. It shows the significance of a seed. All right, leadership is not just about issuing instructions, and it's not just focusing on how to make profit and all of that. The key to all of that is ask yourself, what seed are you planting in your people? This seed, that is the word, was planted in the hearts of people. That's the ground in the way Jesus illustrated it. So the words that you speak as a leader to your people is the seed that you have to reproduce whatever you want in them. Because it is not the ground that determines the fruit, the harvest. It is you by the seed you put in the ground. You can't put orange seed in the ground and then the ground decides, I'm going to give you mangoes. No, the ground has no power to do that. So many times when we are complaining about something, we forget that it all comes back to us. We are the ones. What seed are we planting? So don't waste your seed. Now you know the potential. I've talked about the fact that you need to, be mindful. There are pitfalls. All right. There are pitfalls whenever you are, embarking on anything. And so one of the things that I said here is be discreet as you make progress. Be discreet. All right. And always keep seed for sowing and bread to eat. When you have a harvest, don't consume everything. All right. Because you always need seed. All right. To get. Now, how do you maximize your income? I've already said that different people can have the same seed. They can be sowers, but they get different results. The quality of their execution, the quality of the experience that they have, the quality of their commitment, the faith, their diligence also, all right, in seeing through the process, all of these things determine the quality of what they get, all right? So here note, prioritize excellence in your execution. Prioritize excellence in your execution. And I think this is the final, element of those 8 things, that these principles, when you implement them, when you commit yourself to them, they help you develop certain core character attributes: diligence, discipline, patience. We said things take time. They teach you patience. Integrity is important. The sower. Are you a sower or you are an imposter? You should know your limits. There's nothing wrong in you knowing your limits. Know your limits so that you know what you need to upgrade yourself, so that you don't go and start on something and you fail. We are going to talk about that also. The parable of the Tower project. You count the cost. This is part of it. Who are you? Are you a sower? If you are not a sower, don't step out to go and sow, because the harvest will not come. You will make a ridicule of yourself. Integrity is important. And you need to be joyful as well. All right, joy. Because you are working, you are seeing what you are doing, you have something to look forward to, you are seeing the process, how predictable it can be once you have the knowledge of it. All right. And when you see your process, all right, succeeds and you harvest in your hands, what does it deliver? Joy. And love. Love is simply the obedience to carrying out the things that you learned. Jesus said, the one who loves me is the one who keeps my commandment. That's it. So when you learn these things, do you put them to use? Or put differently, as you learn them and you apply them, it builds the character of love in you. Because that's acts, those are acts of obedience. You repeat them continuously. That's what it builds in you. That's what it builds in you. And when your character is strengthened, your capacity, all right, to get things done is strengthened as well. And there are two things I want to draw your attention to. If you have ears, you better hear. It's part of what Jesus said. Remember, it's a foundation principle. So pay attention to these things, please. Pay attention is your call. But there is something else about the second warning he gave or caution he gave. He said, take heed how you hear. Wow, that's a bit different. But let me quickly say, without taking much of our time, the second one, what he's saying to you is that how you hear means, are you hearing just to acquire the knowledge, or are you hearing to apply it? Take heed how you hear means hear for the purpose of doing, not just for the purpose of knowing. Hear for the purpose of applying it. That's what a wise person would do. So you pay attention to it, but you pay attention much more so that you can apply it to your life and to the situations that you come across in your work. All right, so that is the backup for it. What are the discoveries? You know, I said yesterday we would look at incremental insights. The reason we're not looking at incremental insights today is because this is the first parable that we are discussing. All right, so this is the starting point. And from tomorrow, we'll start considering incremental insights. That is, what is this new parable that we're discussing? What is he adding to us? So the first is that there is a standard way all season to achieve your goals, to make impact, to grow, and to excel, beginning from where you are, now. Number two, you must build distinct capacity and be known for something. That is, you must be a sower, all right, that you can live up to, so that your results prove who you are, that you understand exactly. And if you are not getting the right results, it challenges you to examine who you are. Are you the sower to get that kind of results? Are you sufficiently wired or empowered, all right, or trained to get to produce, to operate in that area so that you can get the kind of results you desire? Or should you be looking somewhere else? No point attempting any pursuit in which you lack the requisite seed, all right? At least not until you acquire it. We have said you can acquire it if you don't have it. You can, acquire any skill. You can acquire a talent if you like. The most important seed is the word of God. And I add here, the word you receive from your trusted leader or coach. Very important. All too often, we think it's only what God says that matters. No. Why? Because God has representatives. Even God himself told us that in 2 Chronicles 20:20, believe the Lord your God and you will be established. But it didn't stop there. And it didn't say, oh, following. It said, and. It said, believe also his prophet, so that you shall prosper. That is, it is the two together. The prophet there is like the leader, is somebody who operates the wisdom of God. All right? You need to listen to that. You need to learn from that. What they say is important, is valuable. They are given, as we've seen, to us as leaders. Okay? So when they say the seed that the things you are hearing from me, they are seeds as well, that you are meant to embrace so that they can reproduce what they contain. in your lives. Odds are normal to expect in the pursuit of your goals. They make you pay your dues before you enjoy success. Odds. And then success isn't for every person. And you might be taken aback by that submission. Success is discriminatory. Why? It's reserved only for those who truly deserve it. And that's simple. All right. Success is achievement of your goals. You have seen there is what you must give according to this process, according to the principle that this parable lays out, if you want to succeed. The harvest there is not obtained on the basis of sentiment. The harvest there doesn't have respect for whether you are a sower or you are not a sower. The significance of you being a sower is in how you choose to undertake that journey. It has nothing to do, the harvest only respects. It comes through to prove, who you are and to show that you truly deserve it. So from that perspective, life is not unfair. Because if you know this principle, and I know it, and this principle is available for all of us, the parable is there. You could have read it on your own. I could have read it on my own. Or you do whatever you need to do to understand it. I do whatever I need to understand it. So if both of us apply it and I get results and you don't get results, it's not because life is unfair. It's because you have not done the things I have done. You haven't respected the process and the principle, and I have done so. And I'm going to get what the principle promised, and you can't get it. Because in this principle, there's no provision for luck. There's no provision for luck. There's no provision for luck. And it's important that that is emphasized. It's a display of excellence to know where you want to go, how to get there, and to ultimately arrive at your destination. Success is possible and easier to reach for those who understand the principle behind goal pursuits. Success is possible and easier to reach for people who understand this principle. And what are the application areas? Anywhere this input-output framework is an input-output framework. There is what you must put in if you want to get certain outputs. It applies wherever you need to put in something in order to get an output. It's applicable to every goal pursuit, especially in the areas of product management, farm management, leadership, investment management, and all of that. And the world, by the way, runs on this principle. The world runs on this principle. And you can just look at that, look around you, and you discover how important this principle is. And so I'm going to end with this quote. If you understand the parable of the sower well enough, you can have the key to achieving any goal that you desire and, to succeed in life. All right? You can achieve any goal and you can succeed if you have a hang of this parable and principle. Okay? So you can see the mystery element of it. That's how life works. Everything respects this principle. So that's what we'll be covering today. The parable of the sower is so foundational. Like I said, there's so many dimensions. Hopefully, as we go along, as I have opportunity to make reference to it, and we sure we have opportunities to make reference to it, I will throw open some other aspects of it. So I'm going to stop here and allow you to make your comments. So yesterday, of course, we talked about, the issue